Welcome to the Lululoves Crochet Podcast, episode 7. My name is Emma and I'm a UK crochet designer and blogger, and I will be talking to you for the next half an hour or so about my crochet projects, works in progress and books, television, anything else that takes my fancy really. I hope you've all had a lovely Christmas and New Year. We had a very lovely holiday, very quiet and relaxed, and struggling a bit really to get into the groove of January, but I think that's a common problem. So as always, I will get straight into the crochet talk. Oh, actually, first of all, I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who bought the Diamonds and Bobbles jumper pattern. I've been so happy with the feedback and the lovely comments and the pictures. I felt really supported, so thank you. That means a lot to me, that you like it as much as me. So I'm just so happy with that. So yes, I will crack on with the first finished item I have to show you today. I didn't get as much crochet done over the holidays as I'd anticipated, which I think is a common problem around the holidays, but I did manage to finish my socks. I ended up using a pattern from an old copy of Inside Crochet because I do have a little sock book, one of the Vicky Brown books, but I could not find where to put that for love nor money. So I went through my magazines until I found a pattern that looked like I could achieve it. So these are my first crochet socks and I love them. The pattern was gorgeous. It is the, let me have a look. They're called the Simmerdei socks by Bianca, Boonstra. And they were in Inside Crochet issue 51. So they've got this lovely fan stitch going up, and then the bottoms are worked with treble, and they're worked from the toe up, and then you work the heel. I did get a little bit confused when working the heel from the pattern, but it's a similar one. It uses you decrease in rows and then increase again, and then you just stitch up the sides. It's a similar type of pattern to the crochet stocking, Christmas stocking pattern that I made a few years ago. So I figured that out, and then you just continue up your sock. Beautiful. They are a little bit big on me. They fit and they stay up, but they're more like chunky bed socks because it's totally my fault. The pattern I think called for a 2.5 hook, and I did start making it with a 2.5 hook, and then I thought, well, this they're never going to fit. What am I doing? So I tried to rip back, but this yarn, this is the Drops Delight print in shade 05. It's so lovely and soft. You cannot pull this yarn back. I mean, you have to do it very, very gently, and every time I was going back, it was knotting and catching, and in the end it just broke. So I then was very, very cautious about making sure I had the pattern right as I worked up, because I didn't want to waste any more of that yarn. So they are lovely. So they've worked up a little bit big, but like I said, they stay up. They're like lovely bed socks. I definitely would recommend this pattern, and I definitely would recommend this yarn, although I would be a bit careful with it, like I said, if you are the type of person that likes to pull back your work like me. So here's the other one. They are slightly different. They're the same, but you can see the yarn, started in different places. Now, what's the deal with this? Do people that knit and crochet socks generally wind on a ball to get to the same space so that their socks are the same, or does that not bother people? It doesn't really bother me, to be honest with you. You can see that they're a pair, But I can see how with certain yarns that might be a bit, and they would have been more different also because I'd already worked a toe and I couldn't save the yarn. And then up here I ran out of yarn. This was the first sock, so I left it and then continued, maybe it was this one. I then continued with a bit from the other ball. You can just see it there because of that toe mistake. But they're lovely. I've enjoyed wearing them. I love the stitch. I love how easy they are. The colours are beautiful. The yarn is really soft. So I'm really, really pleased. And I definitely want to try more socks. Maybe some daintier socks, I'm not sure. But these are the types of socks that I like to wear. Nice, chunky, cosy socks. So they're perfect for me. I'll show you the pattern. They look a lot more delicate in this. There you go, look. They're beautiful, aren't they? I mean, you get a better sense of what they're supposed to look like, I suppose, from that. So, and then over here they've styled them with some shoes. Gorgeous. So I was really, really happy with my first crochet socks. I will definitely be making more. I would use this yarn again, definitely. It's beautiful. I just love the colours. And I think they do quite a big colour range in that. So I may try some more of those. I was really, really happy. The other thing I'm wearing is my kimono by Kath Weber. Is it the Siena? I think it's the Siena kimono. Last time I hadn't added the sleeves. I have, although by the looks of it I haven't done a very good job of tying my ends in. So I've added the sleeves to it. It's beautiful. I blocked it as well as I could because, as you remember, I hadn't blocked my squares. So it's beautiful. I love it. I did end up adding an edging to it. I used some of that croft yarn just to add an edge around the neck, around the whole kimono really, and the sleeves. I think it gives it almost like a Liberty binding effect. So I'm really, really pleased with that because I didn't want to add the tassels to the kimono. So I've been really enjoying it, and yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I've missed a few ends there, so I'll go back and do that. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. I've been wearing that. That's lovely. So that was finished. What else did I finish? I worked on some more squares for my Saturday blanket. I did, so with the croft yarn, I think it's croft yarn, I'll check. I did this lovely pattern. You can see how beautiful that yarn is. But because of the yarn, you can't really see the pattern. And it is a really lovely pattern. It's called the Topaz Square by Susan Hinton. It's a free download on Ravelry. It's made, I mean, you start with a circle and then it's got these lovely V stitches in it. So I really, really wanted to try that one again. So the following week I used the same pattern and just tried a plain yarn. You can see it a bit better in this, but again, I think the yarn is a little bit thick for the pattern maybe. You can see it. I think this would look really lovely in a DK weight yarn, and I'm working with Aaron. But that's lovely as well. This was just some leftover, I think. I can't remember what it was from. I've got a feeling it was from one of Lulu's cardigans years ago. So that's that one, and then last week I did this one, and I was sort of running out of neutral yarns, like pretty neutral yarns, and so I just made this one up with some acrylic Aaron, and I'm not overly as pleased with it. I love the pattern though. That is the Will Lattice by Dayna, Audirsh. It's on Ravelry again. I'll pop all the links below. Can you see that? So that's quite beautiful, but after working with those lovely wool yarns, it felt a bit, but I do really love the pattern, so I might end up reworking this one. I'm not sure yet what I'll do about that. I think might have trouble joining these, because although I'm trying to keep them to around 9 inches, they are working up all slightly different, and some of them I'm having to adapt. Like this one I cut off early with the double crochets to fit, so I'll worry about that later. So yes, I also did a crochet square for the Lottie and Albert charity cowl, the Little Hearts for Grace, so I did that as well, but I've sent that off, so I can't show you that. And I used my sparkle yarn that I showed to crochet a set of these lovely snowflake coasters. Can you hear the pug? Sorry, he's snoring again and the light's so bad. You can't really, oh, you can a bit see the lovely sparkles there. So I did a big set of those for Christmas, and I put the pattern for them on my blog, so they were really lovely over Christmas, and that was really it for Christmas crochet. Not, like I said, not as much as I had wanted to do or planned to do, but that's the way it goes. I did recently, I think it might have been in the sale, I picked up a kit from Wool and the Gang, and they are a brand that I follow and admire, and I've never really tried any of their patterns or their yarns, so I bought the kit for the Full of Love mittens, and their kits are so lovely. Came with a little postcard there and all the instructions and the yarn, and the pattern, I thought very naively, I just saw that the hook needed was a 6.5 hook. I went on and I picked my yarn. I picked this lovely checkered alpaca yarn. There we go. It's that yarn. So soft, so beautiful. And I picked this colourway. There were mostly solid colours, but loads of choice. And I thought it was a chunky yarn, or at least an Aran yarn. But when it arrived, it definitely wasn't. It's I'm not even sure if this is a DK yarn really. The yarn ball, the recommended hook size was a 3.5mm, so it might be double K. And the pattern, the stitch pattern, was a rib stitch. I worked up a swatch of it here because I thought I was going a bit mad. It's you probably can't see that. So you work it this way. It's rows of double crochet and then rows of slip stitches, and then you get this lovely almost knit effect pattern. So it gives you stretch this way. It's not the stretchiest of rib stitches, I don't think. A little bit stretch that way, but it is really beautiful. Excuse me. But the trouble with it is, because you're working a row of single crochet and then slip stitching into that, and then the next row you're working your single crochet or double crochet, into the slip stitches, what you end up with is 2 stitches. So there's the slip stitches along the back, if you can just see those, and then you've got your double crochet stitches along there. So you end up with the 2 stitches butted right up against each other, and you have to work into these back stitches. Now that's fine, I didn't have any problem working that stitch with this. This is an Aran wet acrylic, and I used a 5mm hook. No problem at all. However, working a 6.5 crochet hook and this thin yarn, which also, because of my colour choice, is made up of 3 different strands of yarn. So what was happening is, every time I put my hook in, I was sort of pulling this yarn apart, and I could do it, but it was terribly slow, and I wasn't enjoying it. So I still wanted my mittens. I just wanted to do it the easy way. So I made my mittens. I followed all the sizing that was in the pattern. The other thing, they made the thumbs separately. I did not. I added mine as I went along. I used a completely different stitch. Oh, was that there's an end there. I used this up down stitch, you know, where you work a double crochet, treble crochet, double crochet, and then go back into the alternate stitches. That's the stitch I worked, and these are the mitts that I made. And I also went down to a 5mm hook so that I could actually get gauge, because I couldn't get gauge at all with that bigger hook. I thought maybe it wanted me to double up the yarn, but there definitely wouldn't have been enough. Excuse me. There definitely wouldn't have been enough to make two mittens if I'd have doubled up, especially using that rib stitch, because that creates quite a dense fabric. Anyway, so these are my mittens. I love them. I have got a bit of yarn left, so I might just bring them up a bit, a little bit maybe. But that yarn is so fluffy and soft, really the softest. I definitely would try more of this yarn. And I would try more of their patterns as well. It was just unfortunate that I didn't really, I just think it was a combination of the colourway and the rib stitching with that bigger hook that was just driving me a bit mad. So once again, I've gone off piste and I've done it my own way. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. So they're lovely. So those are my Wool and the Gang mitts. Love those. So, and that is it for finished projects. I will show you the project that I'm working on the most. I've only got one work in progress out here to show you today. I have started another couple of ideas, but they're really in the beginning, so there's not really much to show you. So this is, get back on the hook. This is my Lost in Time shawl. It was lost in time for a while. It had been put out of sight because I was impatient to get to that lovely pink colour. But I picked it up over the holidays and I have come quite a way. I think last time I showed you, I was around here heading, it was just starting to lighten up, and now look at it. I love it. I love this sort of tweedy effect that the colour changes had on the yarn. I'm just going into that lovely pink. It's sort of pink with grey at the moment, and oh, it's beautiful. I can't stop looking at it. So I'm really, really keen now to get this done. So I think I'm pretty certain that the next time I podcast, this will be a finished item, because I mean it's getting too big to show you now. But I'll just, there we go. Oh yeah, the light's washed out. Ted, dog. Isn't that lovely? And you can see with the ball. So there we are. So we've still got some grey in there. I'm heading into that lovely peachy colour, and then, oh, I can't wait. So that is my Lost in Time shawl. I am in love with it. The pattern now is in my head, so it's very easy for me to do. I generally just check back at the ends of each row, just to check, but that's beautiful. I can't wait to finish it and wear it. I'm not even sure, would you wear it as a scarf or a shawl? I don't know, but I love it. So that is my main concern at the moment as far as crochet goes. That's the one I'm enjoying the most. I will be happy and a bit sad when I finish that. And that is it for crochet chatter, I think. I will tell you a bit about the books I'm reading. I did read all of my Christmas books apart from Murder on the Orient Express. I did not even start that book, and the main reason was on Christmas Eve, The Great Gatsby was on. And I was up late, doing all those last minute things you do on Christmas Eve. And something is really squeaking. I'm not sure what that is. Anyway, I was watching The Great Gatsby, and I love that film. That's one of my favourite films. I love any of those films directed by, is it Baz? Oh, I can't remember his name, but he did the Moulin Rouge, Romeo and Juliet, and I love all of those. So I had that on, and as I was watching it, I was thinking, I remember that The Great Gatsby is one of my favourite books, and I remember that during the summer I had picked up another couple of books because I thought, well, I've only read The Great Gatsby, so I bought Tender as the Night by Escott Fitzgerald. The reason I picked this one is because, there he is, look at what a handsome chap he is because he apparently, it's a bit by he's based a lot of the characters on him and his wife, I think. Well, not a lot of them, but two of them, obviously. And he was writing at the time that his wife was suffering with mental illness. And, they were quite financially strapped because they were paying for her medical care. And I'm not sure if he had an affair, but the older character in here gets a bit carried away with an 18-year-old. So he's also very disillusioned in it. It's separated into two books. So the first book, which I've just finished, is The Glitz and Glamour of the Riviera. So it's total Gatsby. It's all the lovely parties and the people and the upper classes, I suppose. Although he seems quite, like I said, disillusioned with the whole thing. And then the latter part, at the end of the first book, his wife's had this sort of breakdown, and the latter part of the book, I think, is about it all just going a bit tits up, really. So I started this Christmas Eve. I do not enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed Gatsby. I love the prose in it. I love the way he writes. And it's interesting, I think, because it's based on some of the things he was going through. So I'm going to stick with it. I think it might be one of those books you have to read again. I don't know. So I started that, and at the same time that I bought that, I also bought on eBay this one, which is a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald. It is a novel, but it's all about her life and her illness. It says a novel of the woman dubbed the first flapper, Zelda Fitzgerald, wife and muse to F. Scott Fitzgerald, set against the glamorous backdrop of the roaring 20s. Zed is the story of the woman who lived large and ached to find her own identity in the shadow of her celebrated husband. So I think also they've made this into an Amazon miniseries. So I'm interested to read that. So I'm going to finish that and then read that. So I got totally distracted by my Christmas reading, but I did get some really lovely books for Christmas, and I also got some Amazon vouchers that I bought books with. So I will just show you a couple of those quickly. I got gifted a new PD James, I don't know if it's a new, but Sleep No More, 6 Murderous Tales. I really enjoyed the, was it the Mistletoe Murders? There was only 4 stories in that one. They were supposed to be Christmassy, but actually only 2 of them were Christmassy, but I really enjoyed them. They were the perfect, you could read a whole story before bed. So I'm looking forward to reading some more of her work. So that's lovely. So I've got that. And then this one, which was on my wish list. It's Stephen Fry's Mythos. It's the Greek myths retold, and I've been listening to a podcast. I think it's just called Myths Myths and Legends. So I was really interested to read this, and I love Stephen Fry's writing as well. So that's another one that I will be delving into soon. And then this one's beautiful. This is Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley. I love Lucy Worsley. I like her books. I read the one about the home. I like watching her on the telly, and this is all about Jane's life, told by examining the places where she lived. So beautiful. There are there are pictures as well, a couple of sets of pictures in there about the places that she lived. And I already started this. I know I shouldn't because I've got 2 books on the go, but I couldn't help myself. Isn't that beautiful as well? So oh yes, that's right up my street. So that was another lovely present. And then another one that I ordered myself is the V Monologues by Ensler. This is the 20th anniversary edition, and it's got 2 new, 6 never before published monologues, a new foreword by National Book Award winner Jacqueline Woodson, a new introduction by the author, and a new afterword by 1 Billion Rising director Monique Wilson. I never read this. I wanted to go and see it and I never saw it. So I think, 20 years ago, that seems crazy, but it's still really relevant, and I think I'm really, really going to enjoy reading that. So, and that was the last book that I bought with my Christmas pennies. So I'll look forward to reading that. Has anyone read that? Has anyone seen that? That would be lovely to go and see something like that. So, and that's it for books. For television, let me just check my list actually. Where are we? Oh yes. I didn't watch much good TV over Christmas, but I did watch the 2-parter of The Miniaturist. That was on BBC One. I think you can still watch that on the iPlayer. That was an adaptation of the book by Jessie Burton. I really enjoyed that. And it's a really good story as well. So I watched that, but I also recorded Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. You know what's coming, don't you? I had never seen that film. I used to love watching black and white films, so I don't know why I had not seen that, but I watched it. It was really dark. I thought it was really dark, and obviously I had Betty Davis and Joan Crawford in it, and I really enjoyed it. And the TV series Feud had been on, I think throughout December, and I hadn't watched it. I knew I would love it, and it is about the feud between Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. And so after I'd watched the film, actually after Christmas, I put it on iPlayer and watched, I think there's 8 episodes. I just loved it. I loved, the glamour, the costumes, and the sad reality of women in Hollywood. And I think it's still really relevant today, because you still hear the debates about women of a certain age, actresses, not getting good roles, but men's careers can go on and on, whereas when a woman in Hollywood gets to a certain age, she really struggles. So I still think the issues are relevant today, which is a bit sad if you think about it, but it was so sad. I had to go through phases of who do I feel more sorry for, Betty or Joan. I feel like Joan probably brought a lot of it on herself, but she really was valued for her beauty over everything. And it's very sad if you're valued for your beauty and you feel that that's your only worth. When that starts to fade, that's obviously going to hit you very hard, and it appeared to, or that's the way it was portrayed. It was very sad. Very good television. I really loved it. So I would definitely recommend, if you haven't already, watching Feud on, I think you can watch it on iPlayer now. So yeah, that's one of the best things I've watched in a long time, actually. So yes, that was a little Christmas gem. And I think that's about all I have to talk to you about today. So hopefully I will be back in another 2 weeks now with another podcast. I will leave links to the things I've mentioned in the description below, because I will do a blog post, but I'm not sure when I'll get it up. So thank you if you're still here and still with me. Thank you very much for staying with me to the end. Thank you again for supporting the patterns and this channel, and please subscribe if you enjoy the vlogs, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.